CO Halito, peace to everybody that may tune in later. Peace to everybody in the background, those in the chat. Peace to you. CO Halito, what up? Ça va? What's up? Bonjour. Buenos dias. Osta sanale. Greetings to you. All right, I had to come back and do a part 2. Because I wanted to focus more on the book references. So, this is, again, part 2 to me honoring my mother, my Creole Indigenous mother, and her bloodline, which is my bloodline. I have her mitochondrial DNA. So, the Caddo Creoles is more about my mother's father's side. I will do at a later date more on my mother's side. All right. So this is countdown to MardiGras Carnival. All right. It is February 17th, Fat Tuesday. You got Lundi Gras the night before, Mardi Gras Eve. All right. And then you have Fat Tuesday, the last day, right? So we are celebrating Creole Indigenous culture, NegroIndian culture. On this channel, you're going to get a Creole Indigenous gumbo pot of spirituality and culture. If you want your life path session readings, get at me. The links are below in the description. If you want that, or if you want an Indigenous astrology reading, I can do that too. Get at me. All right. I have products and services. Thank you all for your support. Now we're going to get to part 2. All right. We're focusing on the forgotten people. They're really not forgotten, but especially around Carnival, MardiGras time, people enter the gateway, the portal to Creole Indigenous peoples and our cultures, our spirituality, all of that. They enter the portals because we open it up for them to explore and, communicate with us and party with us, celebrate with us. We want to see y'all when we're going through struggles too, okay? We want to see y'all when we're going through struggles too. So, all right, let me pull up this. So I'm going to just share this with y'all real quick. And then we're going to get to this. All right, let me pull this up. Hope y'all doing all right today on this beautiful, beautiful Saturday. It is gorgeous outside in the Midwest. All right, it is gorgeous. Pulling up my disclaimer, and we're going to get to the books about the Creoles of the Red River, of the Cane River. All right. And the Caddo ancestry that is in there. Creole peoples of Louisiana. I am focusing on North Louisiana right now. They are a mixture of, yes, French and Spanish, but indigenous ancestry. And some diasporic ancestry is thrown in there. That could be the indigenous tribes of the Caribbean, the diaspora. All right. All right, let's just pull this up real quick. All right, so this is the book we will be looking at today. I wanted to focus on this book and some other things, but I mainly wanted to focus on this. Yes, we are focusing on the Belcher Mound site of the Caddos also. We're going to look at that. In northwest Louisiana and eastern Texas. We will look at that too. Where is it? Because I like the colors. Okay. Thank you for your patience. All right, so we're talking about this area. This area right here. Poverty point goes from right here, and then we have north. This is all North Louisiana. We're talking about the Creoles, the forgotten Creoles, because some people are under the misconception that only southern Louisiana peoples are Creole peoples. No, the whole state of Louisiana are Creole peoples. That's north, south, east, west, northeast, northwest, all of that. All right. So you just got to do your due diligence in your research. Listen to the oral tradition stories of your family members, etc. And other people are under the misconception of all Creoles are high yellow. That is a lie. All right. That is a misconception. Creoles of color come in the darkest brown to the lightest brown. All right. All shades of brown. All right. And it's about basically, of course, the indigenous tribes, the diasporan, Caribbean indigenous tribes, the Spanish and the French, all in a pot of gumbo in our bloodlines. All right. So this book, I was trying to pull up the cover. I thought I had uploaded it, but apparently I didn't. But so this is one cover right here. This is one cover of the book. All right. This is revised, right? The Forgotten People, Cane Rivers, Creoles of Color. It's MardiGras Carnival. We focusing on the Creole culture. All right. And it's a gumbo pot of bloodlines, right? And then this is the other cover of the book. Right here. This is the other cover of the book, The Forgotten People, Cane River's Creoles of Color. All right, let's make this bigger and we can go forward. All right, so a fusion of roots. All right, we're going to look at that because it is a fusion, that gumbo pot. All right, we're going to look at that. And the Cane River culture, racism, and citizenship. It is Negro Indian Heritage Month, and we are celebrating all things, especially all good things. We highlighting the good things because it's always good, bad, and ugly. But we are focusing on the celebratory and celebrating our warriors, our warrioresses, our spiritual people. All right, here we go. So we're going to go here. All right. Oh, these motherfuckers. Excuse me. All right. So I got it. All right. Let's go. This is a limited view of the book. Okay. Oh, we're going to find it. Somebody got it. Excuse me. Un momento. I'm going to play some music while I pull up another one. Thank y'all for your patience. I appreciate y'all. Okay, we're going to share this instead. Since they want to play. Okay. I started reading an excerpt of this yesterday, but Creole culture, let me turn this music off. Creole culture is full of things, spiritual things like spiritual practices like hoodoo, healing with herbs and roots. So we have oral tradition stories, medicinal practices, etc. It goes by many different names. So we're going to look at this. All right. Folk tradition, folklore, allegorical stories, and some oral tradition stories are real. Sometimes they have added elements, embellished things, but oral tradition stories and allegorical stories. So we're going to look at these. All right. So I read this part yesterday. So basically, I'm going to give a synopsis of it. Basically, this person that wrote this from Louisiana Tech, I went there summers. I spent like maybe 2 summers going to Louisiana Tech, but I went to Grambling State University in Louisiana. All right. But my family went to LSU in Baton Rouge. So when I went to visit my family, I did give me some LSU shit because it is fly. I love the colors. They MardiGras colors. All right. Especially the purple and the gold. And some of their stuff has green too. So all right. So this person that wrote this is from Louisiana Tech University. Folk tradition at the Creole Red River. All right. And basically, he was saying that basically the powers that be want us to forget our heritage, our spirituality, culture, and practices of our ancestors. They wanted us to forget it, and they tried to make us, and in some cases, they made us, our ancestors, accept Abrahamic religions and their laws, etc. But they wanted our people, our ancestors, to forget who they were and just assimilate into this new bullshit, right? But this is a time when we are remembering our ancestors and their ways. So this person is making sure that we focus on the oral tradition stories and etc. of our ancestors. So let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's see. All right, I gotta make this shit big, even though I got my little readers. But okay. So he wants the Creole culture to be told with vigor. Creole culture on the Red River had not been told with such vigor until the Federal Writers Project, a byproduct of the New Deal by FDR, was enlisted to compile data on interviews of former prisoners of war or enslaved people. Of course, it's always somebody in the forefront or in the cut trying to learn our ancestors' ways and what were we about, etc. Right? So when they start doing these interviews, right? Okay, it says Lynette Tanner in Chained to the Land, Voices from Cotton and Cane Plantations. MardiGras also, Carnival is held after the sugar cane harvest. So they would burn the sugar cane. And it was a celebratory time, okay? It's called Camboulé. All right, so the Voices from Cotton and Cane Plantations, from interviews of former indentured servants, prisoners of war, has Louisiana interviews and incorporates the customs of French law and rule. Priestly vows of celibacy and prayer are only the start of it. Free people of color, free people of color, free Creoles of color, the forgotten people. All right, so Augustine Matoyer, a Roman Catholic, And the following will uncover why it was not just the Federal Writers Project and Harlem's Renaissance that discovered great writers, orators, all right? But that throughout the 18th century, folk tales were canon in RedRiver Creole society. That's what we're focusing on, all right? So, the work of these four authors. So, this person used four authors, right? And this will be an Ark of the Covenant moment for esoteric scholars in academia, because a lot of people are scared of the hoodoo and the voodoo of our Creole cultures. That's because they don't understand it, right? It's a time for everything. We got some stuff that promotes healing and good stuff, and then we got some self-defense shit too. That's what they really scared of. All right. So, the gens de couleur libre, the free people of color, the Creoles of color, represented a caste system in Louisiana that was neither black nor white, and it was this in-betweenness, this mixture, as a space that made society in metropolitan and rural areas of Louisiana exemplar of the forgotten people. Archetype Gary Mills presents it was the beginning of the Cane River colonies, whose history is tied to oral histories handed down from each generation. Like my family, the premises of this, I did dedicate this whole segment yesterday and today to my mother, because my mother is a Creole woman of color. She has indigenous blood. She has French and Spanish blood. She has diasporic indigenous tribal blood in her bloodline, which is in mine. So this is why we digging into this during Carnival, MardiGras time, and Negro Indian History Month, right? So, all right. It was the beginning of the Cane River colonies, whose history is tied to oral histories handed down. My family's land is a part of the Caddo land that has been handed down generation after generation to my family, right? So it was handed down from each generation. Mills, The Forgotten People, shows how each successive generation went through a transformative period that stripped them of their previous post knowledge. Right. This is where the people, like how they had those missions, those Indian missions, where they was trying to they had this motto, unalive the Indian and save the man, because they didn't want our people to practice their indigenous culture, their Creole culture. They wanted to make them into this model fake shit, right? With religions and etc. that wasn't our people's. Okay. So it says that okay. So they wanted to strip them from their previous post of knowledge. In this case of the Cane River colony, Marie Therese Coin, I may be pronouncing her name wrong, forgive me. She earned her freedom in 1778 by learning the herbal medicines of her diasporic parents. She had parents from the diaspora, indigenous tribes. So when you see African in all of these writings, you gotta see who they're calling African, because they will use that as a blanket term to cover everybody that is dark skinned, when the original people of all 7 continents are dark skinned people. So just so you know, I'm gonna dodge the hijack, okay? So, all right. And she gained this manumission of the Saint Denis family. Coin was even given a plot of land. According to oral tradition stories, oral histories, indigo plants were planted. The first in the area for Natchitoches Natchitoches. Cultivation to make blue dye for uniforms. And she also found bear hides and grease to lubricate European weapons and or carriages. The Melrose plantation became built in an diasporic style and used native materials at Coin's behest before she married a lucrative Frenchman, Claude Thomas Pierre Motier, the Owl of Breville, as it is often referred to, prospered until doom arrived during the middle of the 1800s, the Civil War. The threat of doom and ruin was present throughout the history of Louisiana Cane River colonies. You have diasporic voodoo practitioners, hoodooists and voodooists. They had to convert to Catholicism to be accepted, but they did it in private. Before the public, they were Catholics, but at home they was practicing voodoo and hoodoo and indigenous practices. All of that is mixed in the hoodoo, southern folk magic. All that is a mixture of indigenous, diasporic, some African, French and Spanish underground spirituality and culture. They was practicing that at home. All right. Even though before the public they had to put on this Catholic persona, right? All right. It says, okay, the voodoo practitioners, they had to convert to Catholicism to be accepted. And it was the Christian faith in marriages that could lead to happiness and also social destruction if the family was not nurtured. Code Noir's policies in the island or the Isle were strict about indentured servants, prisoners of war, marrying whites, and Coin had to be expelled from Montoyer's household as an early example of it. Ecclesiastical and social ecology made Melrose Plantation and other architectural time capsules necessary to recount what happened at this time. The area became a literary center by the 21st centuries when authors such as Faulkner, Mignon, and others descended there to resurrect the culture. All right. A continued legacy of the forgotten people ensnares Mills' work for the forgotten people in journals and notebooks, telling the features of constructions in Natchitoches homes in the same manner as the climate: clover leaf boards, puncas, ropes, mahogany, cherry wood, sterling silver, deer hide, cowhide, marble, pestles, including crystal ornaments, were the mainstay of Cane River architecture furnishings. A mutable identity was associated with uniting personal history with natural resolve. During the Civil War, Northern soldiers and even Father Yves Marie, Yves Marie, wrote in a diary and letter about death beetles, speaking to why the quality of homes had to be great. Lighting had its way of influencing building on the Isle too, but it was wealth and status that had presided over many ornaments fitted to the homes. For indentured servants, prisoners of war, little would be forgotten too soon, as they passed down building practices such as mud and log designs. Oak and cedar trees lined the entranceway. This is just like when I did the podcast about the sugar cane plantations and how, we celebrate from the, with the products, sugar, rum, etc., molasses. We use all those things, and our ancestors did hard labor. That was hard labor. They used to get these third-degree burns. They used to pass out from heat exhaustion. They used to get sick. They could only do it for 4 hours. And so They had the Creole style plantations, and then they had the Anglo-European style plantations, right? Yeah, they had the two different kinds, and they had all these things to separate our people, but we still have this intermixture of cultures, right? Rich culture. So they had land, they had houses, etc. In 1858, a school for daughters of the cross opened. But again, they had these missions trying to groom the people. They didn't want them to be voodooists, hoodooists, and indigenous medicine people. They didn't want them to be all of that. They wanted them to be these little quiet Catholic people. Like when you go to a Catholic church, it ain't live in there. It ain't. Our ancestors brought that fire to the whole Abrahamic religious system. We brought that fire, the source, to it. We made it come alive. But our ancestors were still practicing their real spirituality and culture in the background, right? So, and they just talking about these little mission schools, right? And it says they had dances along the Red River, rowing, gambling, drinking, cockfighting, horse, fish racing. Some people was doing GAY dressing and blowing on shells, often disregarded in the religious calendar for appropriate festivities like Carnival and MardiGras. It's our shit, and then they tried to say we couldn't partake in the MardiGras part of it, but we was always doing ceremonial festivals, etc. We was always doing that. So we basically had our own shit, and then of course, as time goes on, yes, they wanna have us included because they was mocking us anyway. That little destiny swap of a people, basically. I will call it festival genocide instead of paper genocide on this aspect. Festival genocide, basically whitewashing the festivals, etc. But it's our ancestor shit, right? So basically, I'm gonna be skipping around a lot because they talking about some other stuff. So all right, so Gwendolyn Hall's Africans or Diasporic Indigenous Peoples in Colonial Louisiana, the development of the misnomer Afro-Creole culture, all right, Negro-Indian Creole culture in the 18th century shows a diasporic relationship emerging between Senegambia and Louisiana in the 1700s that united agriculture and cosmology. All right. So it was other tribes from the Caribbean also that came into Louisiana and mixed with the natives or the indigenous peoples there. All right. So you have this Creole culture, and they say you can thank the Company of the Indies, a private company licensed by the King of France, Bambara Kingdom Wars, Incent Moors, and grain-based commune systems necessitated labor to work the land for nobles to remain viable. Okay, so they had symbolism in Mandacan creation myths, relies on the foundations of life, like rain, to unite the physical and the metaphorical harvest into cosmology. In modest opposition, the Mill's use of architectural examples of natural embodiment, Hall emphasizes soul and soil, germination by rain and NITE. We live in a universal body And the Bambara described basically there is a mother and father great spirit, basically. So that this is why they say androgynous, because the Holy Spirit is mother and father. All right. And it depends on what tribal nations you come from or whatever your traditions and culture are. The mother is the portal to life. She has the womb. She gives the life. The father has the seed. She has the egg. She has the womb, etc. They come together. It's a dualistic thing, but they are one. It's a mother and a father. So I don't want y'all to be scared of that word in this context. All right. So they talked about that this was a synthesis of harmony and the water spirit, Pharaoh. So this person is going over like some spiritual things, some spiritual beliefs of the Creole peoples because it was such a mixture. All right. Anthropologists and archaeologists will be proud of the association with the vegetation for life on Earth. Our ancestors were about the earth, tending to the crops. Like my family, my mama's family, on their land, they grew anything that you could think of that grows in Louisiana. They was growing it, from pecans to whatever. They had it all, right? So our people were good with knowing agriculture, like Caddo and Selu. I liken Caddo to like Selu. A lot of indigenous cultures have folklore, oral tradition stories, allegorical stories that say that there was a great woman that showed the tribe how to do agriculture and do spiritual practices. To show them like how to nurture the people. There were also not only beloved women, but warrior women. So just do your genealogy, dig into what your tribal nation's traditions and culture are. And if people are commenting, I apologize. I can't see your comments right now. Okay. So we do have down here. All right. So Cane River Creoles were more powerful by commingling into a natural reserve site where diversity in nature was integral to their success rather than their demise. All right. Cane River Creoles. So we focusing on Red River Creoles and then Cane River Creoles, because the Red River, it runs from the west through where you have eastern Texas into northwest Louisiana, and it continues to go. It does branch off where you have the Cane River. So we're talking about the Red River and the Cane River, though the Creoles and that were there, all right, that are still there, right? So, all right. It says that the Creoles were more powerful by commingling into a natural reserve site where diversity in nature was integral to their success rather than their demise. In the Forgotten People, the Red River is the focal discussion, but in diasporic Africans in colonial Louisiana, we are met with diasporic influences of riverways on another continent. Okay, so they do talk about diasporic rivers. All right. So the Mississippi River, Arkansas River, Red River, Ouachita rivers in comparison. All right, and so they evaluate them, and a revelation is revealed about the settlements along the borders, trading posts, because they use these waterways to do travel and trade, etc. All right. they did have boundaries, etc. And they do talk about this one book that he's talking about. So we have the Forgotten People book that focuses on the Cane River and Red River peoples. And then you have this Diasporic Africans in colonial Louisiana, where they are talking more about the small percentage of Africans, all right? And that ain't even a real name, right? But we gonna focus, all right? So they talk about Senegal and Mali and Fort St. Joseph, and loading and unloading because they were traveling on the roadway. I mean the waterways. All right, so they just talking about basically that. All right, they talk about the Moors and the Dutch and the French, in Arguin Island, while the Portuguese already had a tradition established. They talk about, I'm going to skip around, okay? At Pointe Coupee, the French and Indian War damaged supply chains, and while Indians ransacked already bad harvests, etc. So basically, he's talking about, things that happen there. All right. Now, the Canadians in Indian villages along the Mississippi River, they did ravish the women, which was fucked up. And then some of them did, intermingle with them, etc. So they ravished women that were supposed to follow Christian chastity. All right. So this is where the Catholicism comes in at, etc. All right. So further into the Creole folk who adapted to the swamplands, the bayous, as a testament to the limitless nature of rivers and forgotten people, and even suggest the linear regulated river channels have been turned into a bayou, a swamp at some location. Cypress bayous or cypress swamps were named a la Cypriere. Neat waterways and bayous would only be a memory at the Red River in the 19th century. All right. And I'm going to pull this up so y'all can get a visual of the different caste systems of the Cane River people. Let me pull that up real quick so y'all can get a visual of the people. And these are the ones that's not dressed up, real extravagant. I'm about to show that. Give me just a second. Okay. Cane River Creoles. All right. I'm trying to see if this is the site that had the picture. I'm gonna find it because I want y'all to get a visual of the Cane River Creoles. I do. The ones that don't look so gorgeous with their regalia, I would say, but they are beautiful people. And after we look at this, we'll we will do one last visit to the Belcher Mounds. All right, right now we're looking at the folk tradition at the Creole RedRiver. And I showed the picture yesterday. I did it briefly. Shit. How y'all doing in the chat? I know y'all just stopping by. I just had to get this out because I was thinking about the book, and I wanted to pull up the book, but all right, with the Cane River National Heritage Area. And these are some of the historical sites of the Cane River Creoles. A river and its people. Yeah, the Oakland Plantation, the Magnolia Plantation. All right. I'm going to just show y'all some visuals till I find it. So this is a descendant of the lady, basically, who married that French man and started this shit. In the Cane River area. I hope y'all doing all right. I wanted y'all to see that it's more than just yellow bone Creoles. There's some real red bones. Like my skin, I'm considered a red bone because I have reddish hues in my skin tone. Lighter people are considered yellow bones, but I know in some areas they misconstrue it and call a high yellow person a red bone. But red meaning like that red clay, like high yellow people ain't the same color as that red clay. But all right, so let's see. I'm trying to see if she's saying anything. But y'all can look this up. I was trying to find the pictures. My goal was to read this book actually, but they only had a limited view of this book. So we are focusing on this right here. So he gets into the culture of the Red River Creoles, the Creole folk in the bayous, etc. All right, it says to fully surmise the literal and figurative muddiness of esoteric practices with interjections into the natural reserve of cross-cultural abundance, that Creole, the mixture, the cross-cultural. When it came to the Creole culture, we must think about the conjuring tradition. All right, you have hoodoo, voodoo. Hoodoo deals with herbs and roots for healing. Voodoo deals with the spiritual forces of nature, and conjuring is kind of like dealing with the spiritual realm. Like even when you in those churches and somebody laying hands on you or prophesying to you, that has indigenous roots, Creole roots, okay? Just so you know. All right, these time capsules of magic in the colonial world were linked to uh, charms, mojo bags, etc., supernatural objects, medicine bags, black cat bones, etc., conjuring culture. The experiences of conjuring culture throughout the South are represented in arts and entertainment, or the commercialization of the supernatural. The two previous methodologies were focused on the human qualities of intermingling social and economic motives. But for this person, we are viewing a new paradigm of distinction between secular and spiritual worlds. But in our ancestors' world, like it was like no separation. But it will look at more like the heart and the motives of the practitioner. If you are practicing these spiritual practices, these traditions, is your heart pure? Do you have good motives? Or are you on some evil shit? Or are you on like justice will be fucking served? It's a time to be like, okay, we about to do some self-defense rituals and ceremonies. Because it's a time and place for everything, right? So, all right. Okay. Okay, they intermingle these. All right. Um, so they had spiritual and secular music, but it was just our spiritual music. We didn't have, you know, no distinction like Abrahamic religions try to say this is this, because Abrahamic religions want you to stay away from your ancestors' ways, traditions, and culture and spirituality. They want you to just be in this little box and follow the Abrahamic religions. But this intermingling, this Creole culture, um, today it's free and in the open, live and in living color. It was free before colonization. Then it got suppressed during colonization, and they was doing it in private. All right. So this person that wrote this focuses on the blues. Okay. You have jazz, you have blues, you have zydeco music. Um, you have a lot of rich music from the Creole culture as a whole. All right. They talk about indentured service, slave spirituals, hymns. Cause you know when they was going to Catholic church, that shit was dead as hell. But they was having them good old spiritual ceremonies at home. And in they private meeting places. You know they was having the real shit at home. They like, let's go and do this fake boring shit, and then let's come home and get live. Let's come home and get all the way live. Okay. Oh, let's come home and get all the way live. Excuse me. And peace to everybody watching. I appreciate y'all. I'm just engulfed into trying to read through this and skim through it and give y'all the meat and potatoes. All right. But this is about the Cane River, the Red River culture. This is in relation to my maternal ancestry. And I will be focusing on the Caddo Creole. Yesterday, I did focus on like the Belcher mounds and the different mounds of the Caddo. I did mention, the indigenous elements heavy yesterday. And I did want to continue with the part 2 to just finish up, the other aspects of it too, because we are counting down to Carnival MardiGras season. So thank everybody who tuned in yesterday to my Flambeau Fridays, my Fire Fridays, the Five Fridays, Fun Fridays. So basically, this person who wrote this is just urging people not to forget your roots, your true roots. Listen to your grandmama and them that told you you was Creole, you had Indian blood, told you what tribe you was from, and that you also was Spanish and French, or you also had West Indian blood from the diaspora, the Caribbean, the IET, Haitian. Listen to those oral tradition stories. Do your research of your ancestors' spirituality and culture. Celebrate their ceremonies and rituals and holidays. All right. Like I'm celebrating my ancestors' ceremonies, rituals, and holidays. All right. And Carnival MardiGras is one of them. And we're counting down. It's February 17th is the end. This is Carnival season. All right. Also, in the summer too, there's a carnival time. And if you want to watch the previous Fire Fridays, I did break down the origins of Carnival and MardiGras and the different practices that our ancestors did during that time and still do today. All right. All right, let's see what else he's talking about. All right, the Red River peoples, and he's talking about the Creole traditions. They had dolls, puppets. They had some voodoo dolls, etc. They had good things and things that they use for healing, rituals that they use for healing, and rituals that they use for self-defense. All right. I'm just reading through this. It's a lot. So now today you also have the spiritualist churches. The spiritualist churches is the closest thing you're going to get to Creole culture within Abrahamic religions. Them spiritualist churches, they still be calling on Black Hawk or indigenous ancestors, especially warriors, to fight the battles, and they still take herbs and roots. They still pour libations and all kind of stuff. But some of them have the appearance of they are Christian, but they still practice that real raw hoodoo and voodoo. All right. And they talk about the supernaturalists, even though they were the spiritualists. They used indigenous healing. All right. Healing traditions. All right. Healing traditions become tantamount. The topic of indigenous healing is what helped Coin gain her freedom. All right. From her Cane River plantation in Natchitoches. Negro Indian spiritualists, Creoles of color spiritualists today. Some of them, they still Protestants, Baptists, Pentecostals, and they are conjurers at home. They still practice that real raw shit at home. Okay. And they are all conjurers in their own right. But they are a representative of a new community of supernaturalists. Creoles on the Red River are not completely forgotten, but remembering the Natchitoches environment and ecology requires restoring the value of historical artifacts, buildings, charms, and the natural landscape. So basically, this person wants to restore and wants us to remember, urges us to remember those oral tradition stories of your family. All right. Yes. Now they talking about my people right here. Okay. So it says, all right. So voices from cotton and cane plantations. From interviews of former indentured servants, etc., will offer substantive evidence from these writers' projects about oral histories that need to be remembered, backing up new primary sources about Red River's history. The Louisiana, Texas, and Arkansas handles the Red River. It's a geographical boundary bigger than Natchitoches. Excuse me, but encapsulated the routes or the routes Caddo Indians took to inhabit the land. All right. So, the Cane River and the Red River are major waterways for trade and travel to inhabit land, etc. Oral stories from indigenous people along the same banks speak of prophets, spiritualists of their spirituality. And they talk about raft logjam in the Red River from 1838 to 1873. Steamboat engineers who removed it steadily that formed a nexus in Caddo history. There are no inland waterways in Texas, with a higher diversity for native aquatic life. So basically, he's visiting all these books, basically these three major books. He does mention some more. Chained to the Land is a retestament of power of silenced voices to add to the diversity in historical sources. So basically, he wants you to tell your oral tradition stories. It's Negro Indian History Month. Shout out your oral tradition stories. Share your oral tradition stories. Shout proudly who you are, who you came from. And just remember, you're not just those misnomered words. Your family came from indigenous peoples that had indigenous names in indigenous languages. Learn them. Even if you just learn basic greetings, colors, the basic words that you need in your everyday life. Animals, colors, greetings, etc. Learn your culture. All right, so Natchitoches folklore stories, because these people They wanted to do this writers project and interview all these people. But now today, when you interview people, they telling the real raw shit. The real raw shit that they do at home, or their ancestors told them that they was doing at home. They letting it all hang out now. So basically, that's the premise of this. He's using a lot of, big words, etc. But he keeps reiterating, let's remember the forgotten practices and traditions and culture. Let's celebrate them. And so he does have some book sources. He has book sources on each page. Conjuring Culture, Biblical Formations of Negro Indian America. Chained to the Land, Voices from Cotton and Cane Plantations. American History Now. Caddo Lake's History is the Stuff of Legend. Silencing the Past, Power and Production of History. Folklore, Natchitoches Stories. All right. I want Spirit Photograph on Mirror. I want to look at this one right here. I love the spiritual, what some would say the spooky shit, the shit that make the hair raise on your body. I like the spiritual stuff, the folklore and oral tradition stories. I love that. We don't look that up. Folklore, okay. Folklore, Natchitoches Stories. And folklore, okay. All right. And folk tradition at the Creole RedRiver. Anybody got any comments or questions while I'm finding some more literature on this subject? Let me pull up my comments so I can see. Peace to everybody in the chat. The Abrahamic religions are Judeo-Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. That's what Abrahamic religions are. Sutali. Peace, Nicole 226. Peace to everybody in the chat. I appreciate y'all. That's what I'm reading now. All right, so. All right. They just talk about certain things. You actually get that from Creole culture. Like a lot of stuff that's done in the misnomer Negro, in the misnomer Black churches, misnomer African churches, and the Pentecostal churches, all those churches, those are indigenous practices. Those are Creole hoodoo and voodoo practices. You just have a different name or a different blouse on it, basically. When you get in the Holy Spirit and all that shit, basically, your ancestral spirits are raising up in you. The source of all things is raising up in you. And if you letting people lay hands on you, be careful, because the spirits that's in them, they trying to get attached to you. You gotta be careful in whatever you practice. All right. But I'm just focusing on the good things. We're going to focus on the good things. Our people are rich in spirituality and culture and tradition, so much so that the colonizers copied and mocked and mimicked our shit and then tried to tell our ancestors they couldn't practice their own stuff, which is so crazy to me. But this is what the person is speaking about. Even like the habitual nature of having coffee in the morning. Like just different rituals that you don't even know that you're doing a ritual. When you smoking tobacco and what your thoughts are while you smoking the tobacco. That's you having a tobacco ceremony. You having prayer and affirmations. That's going, into the spiritual realm, what you doing. So a lot of things have Negro Indian Creole foundation roots. And we doing the stuff today. But now you're finding out, oh, that's a Creole practice, that's an indigenous practice, etc. So the premise is remember who you are. And they talk about the Cane River superstitions, etc. All of them in the average Negro Indian household, you done heard about all kind of superstition, so to speak, which that's the wrong word to describe it, but painting, having those indigo bottles on like a tree, or putting salt by your door, just different things. These are Creole practices. Putting a horseshoe, doing a wash with, ammonia or vinegar, salt, herbs and roots, etc. Those home remedies. When your grandmother gave you some castor oil and, rich culture. So really, Creole culture is hoodoo, voodoo, indigenous culture, all mixed in a pot of gumbo. And our households are full of a lot of those traditions. And let's see. What's good omens? What's bad omens? What's superstitions? What's good luck? What's bad luck? We was tapping into this long before the world was. And then they just talk about, the plantations, the Creole plantations versus the Anglo plantations. Remembering prophecy. The Caddo Indians of the Red River refer to the great men as Yuko doctors. And the colonizers tried to demonize our spirituality and culture so we would embrace their dead religions, because they didn't come to life until we brought our spirituality to it. So I'm just, like I said, I'm just doing an overview of this, because some of the stuff, is relevant, but it ain't relevant. But this is what I wanted to focus on. It's just a part 2. If anybody got any comments or questions, we can dialogue about it, and then, I can close out. I didn't want it to feel like unfinished. Even though I felt like I did a lot yesterday, but I was just going in. I really didn't like engage with the chat yesterday. But I just wanted, I've been on here an hour and 16 minutes. Just looking at the chat. Okay, I'm good. All right, so once again, this was about me honoring my maternal side. This was just part 2, just residue from yesterday. And I did some other installments. Y'all can check out my playlists, my Fire Fridays playlist, my Flambeau Fridays, Defy Fridays, Pho Fridays playlist. And for those people that was asking religious questions, you can check out my Enigma Solvers playlist. Okay, here it is right here. This is what I was looking for, y'all. This is what I was looking for. This photograph of some dark-skinned Cane River Creoles. They are a mixture of indigenous people. Like, this is a Chickasaw woman right here. This is a Chickasaw woman. This is the Red River historian. Here we go, right here, baby. I was looking for this. So I'm gonna leave that there for a second so y'all can see. Creoles are all shades of brown. Basically, Negro Indians with Spanish and French. Because they got indigenous blood from the Americas and from the diaspora. And then they got the Spanish and the French mixed in there. So that's what our culture is about. The Creole culture is about. Celebrate it, embrace it. But I just love this visual. I do. The people of Cane and Red River Bayous in Natchitoches Parish are Creole, a mix of ethnicities that include diasporic, Caribbean, misnomer African, Caddoan, and Yatasee, Alabama, Cusada, Apache, Panis, and other tribes, French and Spanish ancestry. Our legacy is now enshrined in the Cane River Creole National Historic Area, just south of Natchitoches, where timbered post in-ground homes along the road that wind around bayous stand next to the French Creole plantation mansions. All right. This photographer documented the Cane River Creole culture of Louisiana. She also photographed Cajuns too. All right. And the distinctions between the two cultures. So, right here. Yep, I did look at this yesterday. This is a Creole woman. They list her as a mulatto. Like my mother, her mother is listed as mulatto. And I showed y'all yesterday with the caste system, like what they labeled us as. Like they had a real system. Like they really tried to like document and have people go by this little system and shit. And I will just show that briefly just to tie in case you just watching, but you can watch part 1. But this is the caste system. So this is a mulatto, a Spanish Moorish woman with a Spanish man. It's a mulatto. You have a Spanish man with a brown Indian woman. That's a mestizo. You have a mulatto with a Spanish man. You have a Morisco. A Morisco with a Spanish person is a Chino. A Chino with a American Indian person is all these different things. Mulatta, mulatto. They came up with all these different names for the mixtures of the Creole peoples. Creoles peoples. So that's the French and the Spanish version of the shit. The Spanish version of what a mixture person is. The Creoles, the Mestizo, etc. So this is what they was doing, y'all. They was trying to give us misnomer labels and shit instead of calling us by those tribal nations names that we have in our bloodline. They was doing a lot. But I think this is a good place to close out. Anybody got any last minute comments or questions? I just want to put some residue on it. The part 2. And you can go to this site. They have a lot of information. They talk about the plantations, etc. You can visit them. Explore Creole heritage. So the Creole culture is a rich culture, and I love it. Because it is the best of all worlds, just wrapped up in each and every one of us. Let me see, are y'all saying something on this? Peace, King Eagle Feathers. This is just the residue. I did part 1 yesterday. You can check out my playlist. Flambeau Fridays, we count down to Carnival, MardiGras time, where we celebrate Negro Indian culture, Creole culture. And we celebrating. February 17th is the last day. All right. So I've just been sharing, some of my ancestry, etc. My mother's Caddo Creole ancestry, and my family has still our ancestral land that was passed down to us generation after generation after generation. So I'm just celebrating the descendants of mound builders. Me and my family are descendants of those mound building indigenous cultures. And we also have a little diasporic indigenous cultures and some Spanish and French. All right. And this is just me focusing on my mother's father side, because on my mother's father side, he was given the land that had been passed down, passed down, and passed down. They did not leave. When those Caddos went to Texas and Oklahoma, the ones that went to Oklahoma, my family stayed with their land. All right. And some of them were living between this area, Northwest Louisiana and Eastern Texas. Yes, I had some in Southern Louisiana, mainly the Spanish ones and the French ones that came through the port of Orleans. They came. All right. So I'm focusing on my mother's father side. At another time, I will focus more on my mother's mother side. Everybody has two parents and sets of grandparents. Do your genealogy, know who your people are, and learn their tradition, their cultures, their ceremonies, their festivals, their healing practices, their recipes, etc. Learn it. These are things that should not be forgotten. Embrace it. Don't let somebody else's religion say you can't delve into that, because Abrahamic religions say that your ancestors' ways are demonic. You ain't supposed to talk to the dead. You can't communicate with your ancestors, but you can communicate with a made-up version of the creator that y'all call God, right? So at the end of the day, embrace who you are, whose blood flows through your veins. Learn your languages, your culture, your spirituality, the festivals, ceremonies, rituals, etc. Enjoy life. And for once, look at it through your ancestors' eyes. Just put the colonizer shit down, Start off, just embracing who you are, who your people are. So, lastly, this is my mother. This is her in her cowgirl hat representing. And then this is just her naturally. A true red bone, Caddo Creole woman, Indigenous woman, NegroIndian woman. We focused on the RedRiver and Cane River Creoles of color. All right. Because Creoles are from the darkest brown to the lightest brown. That's me blowing that tobacco smoke. Yes. Ceremonial prayers and affirmations. This is a Caddo Creole woman with some regalia on. My mother, she used to make a small version of this when I was younger. All right. She was tapping into her ancestral regalia. This is a map of Louisiana, and we focused on the Natchitoches Caddo area, that area of the mound builders. Yesterday, I did show the mounds, the Caddoan mounds, the one in Belcher, because this represents the one in Belcher. All right, historic Belcher mounds. I tapped into that yesterday, and I've tapped more into the Caddo indigenous practices yesterday. This is just a residue. So don't forget who you are. Let's continue to celebrate this Negro Indian History Month, HERSTORY Month. Creole Culture Month. So that's what I'm doing. So I was looking at this site. This is a good little site that shows the Cane River Creole culture. And they have a lot of pictures from back in the day. Old Red River and New Cane River of Natchitoches. Now, my mother's daddy side is from this area. Up in there, northwest Louisiana, and that part where eastern Texas is, that area. They have land that was passed down and passed down and passed down to them, to where we still have that land today. So, yes. So you can look into the Red River and Cane River Creoles. A lot of them are Caddo Creoles. And various tribes that were in that area. The whole map of, I have it, that has some of the tribes listed. Some of the tribes listed in Louisiana. Okay, so this whole area. So you have Poverty Point and the Ouachita over here. And then over here you have the Natchitoches, the Caddoan tribal territory. All right, it's many branches, etc. And then you have the Spanish Texas. So, and then you have the other tribes. Now, when I first started this series, I was focusing on my ancestral ties to southern Louisiana, right? By way of the Spanish and the French that mixed in with the indigenous peoples, right? So, it's just rich history, and I love to celebrate it. So you can watch the playlist that is Fire Fridays, Flambeau Fridays, Defy Fridays, Pho Fridays. Is what I've been covering for the last month and a half. So this site has a lot of rich information. Other rivers, where they talk about the Chata, the Homa, and the Tunica. I have found some of my ancestors on the roads. They were from dealing with my maternal side, my mother's father's side, and her mother's side. Some of the South Carolina tribes, the Chicora, on her mother's side, and on her daddy's side, Chickasaw, of course, Caddo had a show, Chickasaw, of course, French and Spanish, and some other things I can't think of now. But on her mother's side, I found an ancestor on the road that was listed as Cherokee. A lot of them were listed as mulatto. So I've done a lot of genealogy of the ones that have a first and a last name. Some of the ones with just first names, I have trouble with that part of genealogy. So if I ever, you out there in the world, if I ever asked you for some genealogy help, it was for me to solve the riddle of my one name ancestors, or I don't know what their maiden name was. Those. All the other ones, especially on my daddy's mama side, they go all the way back to 900. So those I have first and last names. I can trace them back. Those were easy. But the ones with the one name, yes, I have tried to enlist help with the one name ancestors. Yes, I have. But yeah, I'm just celebrating my ancestral bloodlines. Yep. My father's father's side has the Pamunkey, the Patawomac, the Pamunkey, the Powhatan. I've done. If you are new to my channel, I have mentioned this and I have shown evidence of this before. So, but yesterday and today was about my mother's side of things, my maternal side, especially her father's side, because he is the connection of the Caddo, Haddocho, the whole Caddo and the Creole connection, dealing with northwestern Louisiana, eastern Texas. So, all right, y'all. I'm getting long-winded. Y'all have any last-minute comments or questions? I'm out. Y'all have a good Saturday, a beautiful Saturday. I'm putting this on record. I had said a red, white, and blue team was gonna make it to the Super Bowl. And yes, we have a red, white, and blue team that is in the Super Bowl tomorrow. I don't really give a fuck about the Super Bowl because the Kansas City Chiefs ain't there. So I don't really care who wins. But it's some esoteric stuff that goes on with the Super Bowl. I even did a podcast about that. Y'all can look at it. I think it's on my Enigma Solver Chronicles playlist. But y'all have fun, be safe. Y'all going to Super Bowl parties, etc. Have fun, be safe. And remember, this is Negro Indian History Month, Heritage Month, HERSTORY Month. It's also Creole history with Carnival, MardiGras season, baby. So celebrate. Don't forget your ancestors. They live on through us. All right, y'all. I'm out. Peace. Peace.